Free speech under fire. The mayor of Portland, Oregon is calling for the upcoming, quote, alt-right events to be shut down. This after two men were fatally stabbed and a third was severely injured while coming to the aid of two women during an anti-Muslim assault. Now, I'm sure we all echo President Trump in condemning Friday's vicious confrontation with evil, but is curtailing the First Amendment really the right way to right this wrong? Here to discuss, Tammy Bruce, Adriana Cohen, and Vince Colonnese. Adriana Cohen, let me start with you. I mean, you're a member of the press. You understand free speech as much as anyone else. And to me, this feels like an excuse by the mayor of Portland to do something he probably was itching to do anyway.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Charles. You know, the free speech should never be restricted under any circumstance. First of all, it's a constitutionally protected right for all of us. But if we look at what happened with this terrible murder that took place on the train, first of all, it's been reported that the murderer was a Bernie Sanders supporter. So would the mayor like to ban Bernie Sanders supporters from his state? That's egregious. No one should be banned from his state. And I agree with you, Charles. It seems like this mayor probably dislikes President Trump to begin with, based on some of the statements he has made, and this is his final excuse to handle this the absolute wrong way.
And having said that, Vince, to me, this stokes the kind of additional anger or frustration or even hatred that this mayor is saying he wants to suppress, but actually might be doing the exact opposite.
Yeah, when somebody commits criminality, the answer is not to suppress the rights of everybody else in your community. In this case, you've got a guy who has, I think, complicated political views, but very simple people tried to take it and frame him up as some sort of like Trump representative. And in fact, all of a sudden, these calls were all for President Trump needs to speak up on this. And in the end, the mayor of Portland, Oregon, no surprise, a big liberal, is using this as a proxy fight against the president when it shouldn't be about politics at all. And if it's going to be Trump supporters holding a free speech rally, give them a really good reason why you're constricting their free speech rights. And the mayor hasn't even begun to get in that direction. So for now, I don't think this is a sensible decision at all by the mayor.
You know, Tammy, to me, it doesn't matter who the guy voted for or who you campaigned for. To be quite frank with you, I see more and more signs of anger and frustration as we head into this summer. And I believe that we're going to need some cooler heads to prevail, people in leadership positions, rather than using tragedy to promote their ideology and agenda. They better find a better way to communicate to all Americans.
Well, I don't expect that to happen because this is their tendency. We can also point to, as an example, after Katrina, that one of the first things that the mayor did down there was confiscate firearms with absolutely no right. And in this case, you've got the perfect example of where the First Amendment does apply. Everybody says, well, you got a First Amendment right to speak. The First Amendment simply tells the government that it cannot restrict you. So it's a classic example of the violation of that constitutional right. And in this case, fortunately, the mayor has no power to revoke those permits because they're a federal permit. So that's the good news. And the man who's holding this one rally is actually a libertarian. He's not. He's a very much of a personal freedom kind of person. And I think a community like Portland would normally be able to come together and unite against the nature of what occurred on that train, obviously. But with the rhetoric coming out of the mayor, he's almost asking, in a way, for there to be a confrontation or saying that he expects
His words are creating something that doesn't exist. Let me ask you guys real quick, too, about this whole Russia thing. It's so boring to me, but it's there. All the other media outlets keep talking about it. And the question was posed last week, when it's all said and done, if there's evidence that there's no Russian collusion, no connection with the Trump campaign, and we learn nothing different, Adriana, what should happen to the media that pushes this narrative every day?
Well, first of all, the media, their credibility, the left-leaning mainstream media, their credibility is already in tatters. There's been poll after poll where the majority of Americans don't trust the media. You know, there was a recent Harvard poll. There's been a Morning Consult poll. There's been a Gallup poll last September. The majority of Americans trust our president more than the left-leaning media. And you know, if this left-wing, conspiracy theory that they're pushing about Russian collusion doesn't pan out, then they're going to really be in deep trouble because, they've been pushing this theory based on no evidence for months. And their credibility is just going to be shot. And they could possibly lose advertisers as well.
Well, I hope, listen, I don't know what officially could happen, but this should be, the sword of Damocles should be over the head of mainstream media right now. And this should be be a moment of truth for them.
Well, already, though, we already know what their response is going to be. Brad Sherman, Representative Sherman, noted in an interview several weeks ago, well, you know, collusion is really hard to prove. So even if it's there, you might not even be able to find the evidence. Yeah. That's going to be their response, and that is going to be picked up by the media. They're going to try to carry this through as long as they can.
All right, guys, let's leave it there. In the meantime, the S&P 500, NASDAQ